But I'm going to go ahead and kick off our weather unit today. We will be studying weather for a couple weeks at least, maybe a little longer, depending on time. So you will see in your Google Classroom, I'm always showing you where to find this. Lennox, I know you're not used to it, so you'll go to your waffle, go to Classroom. Under classwork, you'll see where these activities are, especially for tomorrow. All of us are going to do the asynchronous tomorrow. Remember, you look up at the date, it's the 20th today, so you're in the week of April 19th through the 23rd. It's the one at the top. And sometimes you have to click on view more if you don't see it, right? But you should have seen on Monday, there it is, 8:30 weather activity. You'll have another one like that tomorrow for Wednesday, which will say Wednesday, 8:30 weather activity. And then we will be for the next 3 days meeting, actually all week, we'll be meeting for science or social studies at 12:45 on my Zoom link. So I want to make sure everyone understands that. We got in the materials from Haiwan Homestead for Thursday. If you are a remote learner, there's a manila envelope with your name on it outside the front office for you to pick up, because the woman that is going to be doing our virtual field trip dropped off some goodies for you. So you have till Thursday to pick those up so you can participate in those activities. Okay, so today's lesson is here. And oh, yay, Gavin is here. We're going to get started. So the learning target for today is going to be for the whole unit. I made it kind of a big general learning target so that you guys will see where we're headed. In this unit, we are learning to make observations, obtain information. That just means get information. We're going to create some graphs or graphical displays to describe patterns in weather, climate, erosion, and features of the earth. And this is just so we learn, right? We're going to build our comprehension. So I know you have pencils, but I'm going to ask for whole body listening. So you put those down for now. Success criteria, you'll be able to record patterns of the weather across different times and areas so you can make predictions about what kind of weather might happen next. That's going to be our focus mainly today. We'll obtain and combine information to explain phenomena or natural disasters. We'll represent data in graphical displays, and we'll think of a solution to a problem related to a natural disaster. So that's the big ideas kind of, as well as our success criteria. So I want you to just tell me, what schema do you already have about this question? What is the difference between weather and climate? Any ideas? Birthday girl. We have a birthday in the house. It's Miss Madison.
I think weather is maybe like more like stuff that affects you, and then climate is more like the air and the surface.
Okay, she said weather's more what affects you and climate is more about the air, the surface. What are you thinking, Miss Lila?
So I think climate's more kind of like temperature, and I think weather's more like if it will snow or rain.
Okay,
It
so
will be cloudy or clear.
Lila Mara says climate is temperature and weather's more like, is it going to rain? Is it going to snow? Is it clear? What do you think, Nixon?
I think climate is like how high it is and like what how like what elevation you're at, and weather's like the if it's gonna be cloudy, clear.
Okay, he thinks climate is like elevation and weather's more like, is it cloudy or clear? I'm going to have you put your hands down and we're going to see if your thoughts are right. We're going to just build our schema. So this is a quick video. It's called What is Climate? It's 1 minute, but it will explain the difference.
At this very moment, all around the world, people are...
All right, unplugged for my meeting.
very moment, all around the world, people are experiencing all kinds of weather. People are also experiencing climate, which is related to the weather, but there's an important difference. That difference is really just a matter of time. Weather happens day to day, even hour to hour, and is still pretty unpredictable. Climate happens over longer periods of time, 30 years and longer, and is usually predictable. In a nutshell, climate can be described as the average weather over time. Here's how climate works. When energy from the sun interacts with the atmosphere, oceans, land, ice, clouds, and living things on Earth, it creates the climate. These interactions are complex, and they don't happen the same way all over the planet. That's why different parts of the Earth have different climates. For example, many parts of Utah have warm, dry summers and cold, mostly sunny winters with a few big snowstorms. Meanwhile, a place like Thailand is hot and humid year-round, with periods of heavy rain called monsoons.
All right, so now you might have a different idea of what climate is. What is the difference between weather and climate? What do you think, Sawyer?
I forget.
All right, Sunny?
I think the difference with climate that it's over a long time. It's like one place stays the same. But weather is like a bunch of different things happening year round.
Yeah, weather's daily, every day. We know what the weather's like, which is crazy here in Colorado. We've had such crazy weather. It was literally sunny outside during recess and snowing at the same time. I couldn't understand it. So our weather is what happens daily. Climate is what the weather is over time, like 30 years. So I don't know if you watch the news and you see the weather forecast, but you can always see they'll compare it to last year, or they'll say the average temperature is blah, blah, blah. So we'll either be really hot for that time of year, or maybe we're really cold, because usually in April, the temperatures are this. So weather and climate are very similar, aren't they? They're about the weather. It's just about the weather's daily, the climate is over time. All right, we're gonna look at a little bit more about the difference, because this was good as well.
Take a look outside your window. Is it hot and sunny? Is it cloudy and rainy? Is there snow on the ground?
Yes, yes, yes.
When you look out the window, you're seeing what the weather is like today. Weather is only temporary. For example, a blizzard can turn into a flood after just a few warm spring days. Climate, on the other hand, is more than just a few warm or cool days. Climate describes the typical weather conditions in an entire region for a very long time, 30 years or more. Keeping an eye on changing weather can help us plan ahead. We know that if thunderclouds are forming overhead, it's probably a good idea to stay inside. But it's important to keep an eye on changes in Earth's climate, too. And NASA has observed that Earth is getting warmer. Keeping track of Earth's sea level is one way that we can know how quickly the climate is changing. As Earth's climate warms, ice in Antarctica and Greenland is melting. This causes the level of the oceans to rise. NASA satellites can measure sea level rise from space. They can also track changes in the climate by measuring the clouds. We know that changes in the number, size, or location of clouds could be caused by a change in Earth's climate. NASA satellites are always orbiting Earth, looking down at our oceans and clouds, and they monitor Earth's climate in other ways too. It's important to keep an eye on our planet and all the ways that it's changing. Right now, it's the only one we've got. Find out more about our Earth at NASA Climate Kids.
Okay. All right, so that gives you just a little bit more information that about weather and climate. Now, here's what I'd like you to do. In your science spiral, I'd like you to answer these two questions. Does the weather and climate of an area change how you live or the features of a particular place? And then when you're done with that question, how has the weather affected your plans or your daily activities in the past? So I want you to think about both of those questions. You have two of them to answer. The first one is, does the weather and climate of an area, like any area in the world, change how you live or the features of a particular place? If you're confused by that question, I'm just going to remind you, I think I've said this before with another science unit. I lived in Florida. I lived differently. Charlie Van Rickley, you should be able to answer this question. You've been traveling. The weather and climate in Florida compared to Colorado when I moved here in 1995 was a big change for the way I lived. And the features of the state, the land, everything was different. I did a lot of different things. That's all I want to say to you. That's where we're headed with that question. And then how has the weather affected your plans on your daily activities? Has it changed? What has it changed your choices maybe? Has it ruined some of your plans or has it just changed some of the things? I'm sure you all have a story. So think about your cups as you write. Think about capitals at the beginning of your sentences. Could Mrs. Aubin or Mrs. Harrison read what you wrote in your science spiral? And make sure, think about how you're writing. Don't just scribble. Think Mrs. Aubin's going to see this. Mrs. Harrison may see this. I want to be able to read it. So for number one, instead of just saying yes or no, can you maybe give an example? Oh, so that's not the answer to this question? Here's question one, and question two. This one needs a little bit more. Yes or no? So guys, when you write, you want to go all the way to the left side of the paper, right? You're going to start here, the red line. You go all the way across. Make sure you do it. I was going to say it looks like sauce. I'm just going to mention it. Okay, show me on your fingers how many minutes you need. 0, 1, 2. Couple more minutes. Okay, I'm gonna give, I see Ben, 0, Leo. Let's hear. So Ben, will you be willing to share and Leo here in a moment?
I said yes, I can.
Love to hear from you.
I said yes, it can because we used to live in Georgia. And now we live here where there's lots of snow.
And where did you live? Can you say it again?
Georgia.
In Georgia. And what ways was it different?
Because it like barely snowed there.
Yeah, a lot more snow here in Colorado, right? Charlie, what
Right.
about you? Would you be willing to share? I'm going to go back to our weather question. Our question
I can't really hear you because it's real bad.
because your internet is bad. Okay. I hear you. I can tell. You're right. All right. The first question was, does the weather and climate of an area change how you live or the features of a particular place? So Ben said when he lived in Georgia, they didn't have as much snow as they do here in Colorado. Isabella, how would you answer that question? Yes.
In Texas, and it was hot. When I moved to Colorado, it was cold.
So she said in Texas, Isabella said it was hot when she lived there and it was cold. How did that change how you lived? What do you do differently then if it's hot?
Well, I used to stay inside a bunch because it was so hot. And now I go outside more because it's more cool.
So that's the same thing for me, Isabella. She said in Texas, she was inside more than here, which people might find funny. You would think 'cause it's so warm that you'd want to be outside, but it's so hot that it's hard to be outside. 102 when she left. Wow. Yeah, so I know for me and Isabella, you can probably relate. You have to have air conditioning on. And boy, if your air breaks, you're in trouble. Like you have to have air conditioning. And when you live in Colorado, excuse me, when you live in Colorado, we don't, well, some places do, but up here in the mountains, do we need air conditioning?
No.
We need heat, definitely. So that's one way that it would be different. Cooper,
When I was in Death Valley, it was 108.
where's Death Valleys in Arizona? It was 108. Okay. And how did you answer that first question? Yeah, it definitely changes things, doesn't it? Sunny.
I said yes. When my family and I went to Mexico, it was so hot, and then when we got home, we were freezing.
So she went to Mexico. It was so hot, but then when they got home, it was freezing. But how did you live differently when you were in Mexico? What did you do different?
We went outside more, and we had a lot more fun.
But doing what? What did you do? What do you do when you're in Mexico?
Swim. We were tank tops all day.
Swim, right? Do you swim? I grew up, you had to have a pool, boy, or we'd be on the boat. Now think about the features. Can we do that here in Colorado? Well, you could go down to the lake, right? Chatfield and maybe go boating. But it's different, right? You're going to do different things. Do you think you're going to go snow skiing in Mexico or in Florida? Now, however, Arizona, you can. I didn't realize that till we went there and saw Snow Bowl. You can do some skiing in certain parts. It depends on where you are in the state. All right, how many of you, give me a thumbs up if the weather has affected your plans or your daily activities. Okay, share with a partner. I want to hear from my remote kiddos. When has it changed your plans? Lennox, can you share time? when the weather has affected your plans or your daily routine?
It hasn't really affected my plans, but I do go outside tons now, a lot more than I used to. And I used to go outside.
Thank you for sharing. Haley, will you share?
Sometimes I want to go sledding, but when I get out there, there's not enough snow. Because it melted.
That's frustrating, right? Anybody else? Ben, has it affected your plans, the weather?
Yeah, because I really like baseball and I was hoping I could play baseball this spring.
Yeah, a lot of games get canceled, don't they, when things like the weather get involved and interfere. Okay.
I don't actually play.
All right. I can tell a lot of you have experience with weather changing your plans. I know soccer games get canceled, right? Picnics get canceled. But it can go the other way. Sometimes when you don't get enough snow, I know we tried to go skiing and there was not enough snow and it was horrible. So sometimes we want the snow, or if you're going sledding, that's what Haley and I were talking about too. If there's not enough snow, it affects your plans. All right, we're gonna read a book. I'm gonna read it to you. I want you to listen, and this is called, Do You Really Want to Drive in a Blizzard? I think you already know the answer. All right, so I was looking back, so we'll go to the beginning. This is a really fun book, but I need whole body listening. So we're gonna get our body checked. There we go. Do you really want to drive in a blizzard? This is a book about predicting weather. Let me get my arrow, right? You've been planning to visit your cousins up north for weeks, but it's snowing and the weather could get worse. Do you really want to drive in a blizzard? Yeah. Driving in a blizzard isn't safe. The weather forecast predicts 3 inches or 7.6 centimeters of snow and high winds. That could create a blizzard, but it's not storming yet. Sorry, I got to move my bar here. It's not storming yet, so you take a chance. Will the weather forecasters be right? I'm going to move you guys again. Predicting weather is tricky because it can change so fast. How do they do it? First, they collect data. Weather stations all around the world measure air temperature and wind speed. They record rainfall and snowfall. They also measure barometric pressure, or how much air is pressing down on the earth. When the pressure is low, it often creates stormy weather. When it is high, there's mostly sunny weather. Can you guys help me remember that? Because we're going to need to know that. Low means what? Stormy, right? High. Sunny. Nice. It's good weather, right? Nice weather. All right. That's a good way to remember. Meteorologists compare the data to past weather. They look for patterns and they create weather models. The models use a lot of high-level math to calculate weather predictions. All the data goes to a supercomputer that runs the calculations. Sometimes the predictions are wrong, but today the forecasters were right. The wind has picked up a lot. The light snow you started driving in has turned into a blizzard. You can see only about a quarter mile or 0.4 kilometers. You'll, let me make sure, have to get off the road. Meteorologists also look at radar. Radar shows how big and fast storms are and which direction they're going. This blizzard is blowing to the east. It will hit the next town in about an hour. After you call your cousins to tell them you'll be late, your phone rings. Hi, Grandma. We're stopped at a truck stop because of a blizzard. What's the weather like in Florida? It's sunny and nice, dear. Why is the weather so different? Geography affects the weather quite a bit. Florida is much farther south than your home. And Florida is right by the ocean. The wind blows over the warm waters and warms the air. In Florida, it's often 70 degrees Fahrenheit or 21 degrees Celsius, even in winter. But people in Florida need weather forecasters too. Why? Hurricanes. These storms form over warm ocean water. Clouds start to spin around an area of low pressure called the eye. A hurricane brings lots of rain and wind and can rip apart homes. You want to be prepared if one is coming. Wherever you live, meteorologists will study and predict the weather to keep people safe. And look, the blizzard finally blew past. Plows have cleared the road. Now you can get to your cousin's house safely. So this is kind of fun. In the back of the book, it says how you can make a barometer, and this shows the air pressure changes over time. So I did that because we're going to need it. So I'm going to show you. You guys could do this at home. Just see if I can pin myself real quick so you guys can see this. So all I did is I got a mason jar and I cut a balloon and put it over the lid with rubber band, and then took the straw and taped it. And I can already tell what's happening. The straw has gone down a little bit. Do you see how it's pointing down? It's not super low. So it should be straight out, but because air is filling up, you can tell that the straw is going down. We might be having some stormy weather coming, and I think that's actually what is in the forecast. So you see how it's pointing down? Yeah. Thumbs up? You guys can see it probably better on the screen. That's so funny. You're in person, but you gotta look on the screen. So yeah, so this is gonna be the way we're gonna measure our air pressure as we do some forecasting in the next few days. So I would say we've got some lower air pressure happening here. Okay, so let me go back to sharing. No. So weather forecasting. We are going to be doing some weather forecasting. Before we do that, what does that mean? How do they do it? How does it work? What is a meteorologist? Sorry, some things are so loud.
It's another day at the Discovery Science Alliance Academy, an elite academy where recruits learn to think things through, examine the data, apply the tools, master the skills. Become a team called the Discovery Science Alliance. Before you can solve mysteries, you've got to master the skills. Do you have what it takes?
Yeah. I'm so ready. I'm so ready. I'm so ready. Let's go.
Today we have a special guest. Please welcome a meteorologist. Wait a minute. What is a meteorologist?
A meteorologist is someone who studies weather. Somebody that tells you what the weather is and predicts what the weather is.
Nice predictions. Meteorologists are scientists who study the weather. They look for patterns and clues. Some meteorologists look for clues in the field, like these meteorologists studying tornadoes. Some meteorologists look for clues by studying data or computer models, like this meteorologist. They examine evidence, like data from years and years ago, as well as current conditions, to make predictions about what the weather will be in the future. This is called forecasting the weather. Only some meteorologists get to go on TV. But no matter what kind of meteorologist they are, a lot of people depend on these super cool scientists' weather forecasts or predictions of what they think the weather will be like in the future. Hey recruits, what do you think? Would you like to be a meteorologist someday? Why or why not?
No, because it all seems like too much work.
Okay. So, all right, a weather forecast tells us how the weather of the day or week is going to be. It can warn us if a storm is coming. To make a forecast, scientists collect all the data about weather. How do they do this? They use special tools. Let's explore some weather tools. So we've got the tools here. We're going to drag them in the right box. So we have temperature, which is how hot or cold something is, right? Precipitation. Does anyone know what precipitation is? Abby, what is it?
I think it's like the way the wind. Wait, no. Wind is
No.
going? Like,
No?
No.
What is it?
Precipitation is when it rains.
Rain, snow, sleet, or hail. Any form of water that falls from the sky, not just rain,
Well, yeah.
is precipitation. Air pressure, we just talked about that, right? And wind speed, that lets you know, especially if you have a hurricane or a tornado, right? The winds, the storms. So let's see, do you think we're gonna want thermometer? Where's that gonna go, Evie? That should go in temperature, right? See, watch that, mercury rising. And here we can listen to it.
That's right. A thermometer measures air temperature. Air temperature tells us how warm or cold the air is. Warm air
Can you pull your
contains more
mask up and
water
stop,
vapor
please?
than
Thank
cool
you.
air. The temperature at this beach is 75 degrees Fahrenheit. The air is warm.
All right. So where do you think, Josh, the rain gauge should go?
In the second one?
Yeah, precipitation. Say it with me. Precipitation. So watch how it rises. So what we're going to use instead of that is we're going to just use a measuring cup. I have one for Mrs. Harrison's class and for ours. We're just going to put it outside and see what kind of water we get, because precipitation is any form of water that falls from the sky. If you are at home, you can do that as well. Ask your parents if there's a measuring cup that you can use to put outside to see how much snow you've gotten or how much rain or whatever it is, sleet, hail. All right, so a rain gauge measures the amount of precipitation. Rain collects inside the rain gauge when it is kept in the open. The collected rainwater can be measured. It rains 6 inches at the beach. So we'll have to put it not under like the roof or an awning. You have to put it out where it falls openly. Another tool. So we have air pressure. Remember I said we just made a barometer? So here's the barometer. That's not like this handmade one, but it does measure the air pressure. The air pressure can be high or low. Places with low pressure often have stormy weather. Like we said, ours is going down. So I think we're supposed to get some snow tomorrow or rain. So places with high pressure have calm weather and clear skies. Knowing the air pressure helps in forecasting the weather. Their pressure at this beach is low. And can you tell why? What do you see in the background? You see that it's windy and stormy, right? It's dark skies. So obviously that means low is stormy. I liked that low snow. That's a good way to remember, but it's not always snow. It might be rain. And then a compass, is that going to tell us the wind speed? No, something called an, can you say it, Mrs. Harrison? Anemometer? Anemometer will tell us the wind speed. And I brought an anemometer. I got one. I practiced with it last night. Where did I put it? Do you see it over there, Mrs. Harrison? So I have one anemometer for Mrs. Harrison's class and mine. It's orangey. It has some, maybe, yes, that's it. So we have an anemometer we will take outside. And if you are remote, you can get online to find these as well. But it looks like this. An anemometer measures wind speed. Wind speed tells us how fast the wind is blowing. The air can be calm, blow as a light breeze, or move at very high speeds. During storms, the wind speed is extremely high. The beach is facing a severe storm with high speed winds right now. I want to show you the one that I got. Here it is. I just ordered it on Amazon. It's pretty cool. I have to hit mode to turn it on. It's digital, but it has a fan. So I can't blow through my mask, but if I could, you would see the little fan on the inside turn, and that would measure the wind speed, and then it shows it digitally on this screen. So we'll take that outside to see what the wind speed is. And of course, we can get online, use our online tools to find wind speed as well. Okay, let's go back. All right. So when we are, can you pull your mask up? When we are forecasting, we have to use tools. Also, let's look up here. You will notice that different places, obviously, in the world have a different climate overall. So we know what to expect a little bit. We have 3 places here on the map. We have Seattle, which is in Washington. We have Minneapolis and Atlanta. So we've got cool and wet, warm and sunny, cold and snowy. Stand up if you think cool and wet should go into Seattle. Cool and wet. Think about where they're located. Think about the equator cutting down halfway through the world and where things are. The equator would be more through Texas and Florida, right? So stand up if you think Minneapolis would be cool and wet. Stand up if you think Minneapolis for cool and wet. Stand up if you think Atlanta, which is right above Florida. Look at your symbols. Okay, let's see, if you said Seattle, you are correct. So Seattle, and Mrs. Harrison can speak to this because she lived there for a long time. Was it cool and wet, Mrs. Harrison?
It was cool and wet.
Rained a lot, right?
Rained a lot.
Yes.
Most of the year. Well, I liked it plenty. Everything was very green, let's just say.
Green like in Oregon too, right? Okay, warm and sunny. If you think that's Minneapolis, stand up. If you think it's Atlanta, stand up. It looks like you were right. That's correct. Atlanta's warm and sunny. All right, so last but not least, everybody would stand for cold and snowy. Right, it's a little further north. And it is cold in Minneapolis. So data from weather instruments that we just looked at, you can sit down, is used to create weather maps like this. A weather map uses symbols to show current weather conditions. High pressure areas are marked with an H. Do you see that H here? Remember when we said high equals nice? So if you have high pressure, air pressure, you're gonna have sunnier, warmer weather. That L has lower air pressure. That means you might have rain, snow, and clouds. Scientists keep track of weather using weather maps. This helps in seeing how weather changes over time. Nice job, guys. All right. So we also need to know about types of clouds, because clouds help us predict the weather as well. There are a lot of types of clouds. You'd be surprised.
The view from this airplane shows a layer of clouds. What are clouds? What are the different kinds of clouds? And how are clouds formed? While clouds may look like cotton or sheets of gray steel, they're actually made of tiny droplets of water or ice. Clouds form in several different ways.
Guys, if I give you some,
Clouds may form when warm air rises from the surface of the earth. As the warm air rises, it cools until the water vapor it contains condenses or turns to small droplets of water. Clouds may also form in mountain areas where warm, moist air cools as it passes over higher areas. The dew point is the temperature at which water vapor condenses and forms a cloud. When the air in a cloud is saturated with water, the relative humidity is 100%. Clouds form when moisture in the air condenses on small particles in the air. These particles are called condensation nuclei. There's a wide variety of sources of condensation nuclei, including dust, smoke, and even small salt particles from ocean spray. When water vapor condenses, water droplets stick to the condensation nuclei, forming water droplets. You decide. What's formed when water droplets gather together?
What do you think? Ellie?
When
Clouds.
large nuclei of droplets come together, they form a cloud. Let's take a look at some of the different types of clouds. You may have noticed that clouds come in many different shapes, sizes, and colors. There are three main cloud types based on their appearance. You're probably familiar with the white puffy clouds called cumulus clouds.
Why is he?
Cumulus clouds usually indicate
Do you know where he's
fair
going
weather,
or why?
but when they get large
We
and
don't
the
need
bottom
pencils.
of the clouds become dark, they may produce thunderstorms. Smooth gray clouds, which form a mat over the entire sky, are called stratus clouds. These clouds generally bring rain or snow in varying amounts. The third main group of clouds are called cirrus clouds, which are often called mare's tails. These clouds form at high altitudes and are commonly made of ice crystals. While there are many different types of clouds based on altitude and shape, most are different versions of the three main types we just discussed.
Okay. Okay. So I have on here a chart of types of clouds. So my remote learners should look at this. Sorry, I don't know how that did that. My kids that are in person, I want you to look over this chart, and then, who just said they didn't have one, come see me. I want you to look over this chart, kind of read through it, and then I want you to tell me, what did you notice? What did you find interesting? What is something you learned that you didn't know? Now, we know there's three types of clouds, but there's way more than just three types of clouds, right? Within each category, there's more. So go ahead and read over it. I'm not going to read it for you. Read through it, look at the chart at the bottom, and then I want you to tell me one thing you noticed or learned or you found interesting. So start reading. Yeah, if you want to write in your science spiral, one thing that you found interesting, you can even look at the diagram if the reading is really difficult for you. There is a diagram at the bottom that you can look at. And I'll move my Zoom people over. And then you can see at the bottom. Look at the pictures of the different types of clouds. There are high clouds, middle clouds, the low clouds. What do you notice? What's different about the low clouds from the middle clouds, from the high clouds? Or which one stands out to you and why? Look through them. Logan, that's not what you're doing. Get your book. Show me where you're reading. Point to the word. Okay, I know you wouldn't have time to read that whole thing. That's not the goal. But I'm just curious, just looking over this, was there anything you found interesting? Noah, what did you find interesting? High clouds are formed in altitudes above 20,000 feet. Very good. Ryder. Anyone have something different? Sunny. Okay, so where the low level clouds are they below 6,500 feet? That means where we live here for what, like 8,000 something feet here in Conifer, that we could be right level with those clouds, right? They can be so low. Have you ever driven through a cloud? Yeah. Raise your hand if you have driven through a cloud. Because really fog, yesterday, I bet everybody did, getting home from school. There was so many clouds. It was so foggy that I had to drive home in a cloud. So some people just say that's fog. Well, yeah, fog is a cloud. That's really what fog is, right? Well, let me hear from Astrid, did you have something interesting?
Well, no.
No?
I was gonna tell when my mom and I drove through the clouds.
So you've driven through clouds too. Okay. Notice on this diagram, did any of you realize, I really like the diagram. I thought of just giving it to you, just the diagram, but I thought some of you might enjoy looking at that other information. Did you ever realize that they could be in so many different levels? It's kind of fascinating, isn't it? Logan. Yeah. Cirrus clouds look like birds' wings. How many of you like to watch clouds and make pictures out of them? Yeah. I always say I'm going to make a children's book on pictures of clouds, but we'll see if it happens. But I love looking at clouds. I did it as a kid, laid in the grass on my back, and I would find pictures in the clouds. I still do it. My teenagers do it. We're like, oh my gosh, look at that turtle. Oh, your mom does it.
I once saw a dragon.
Okay, keep your mask on. You've seen dragons in the sky. Yeah. It's quite entertaining.
I saw watermelon.
All right. One other thing. Yes, you should keep doing that, guys. It's good for the imagination. It's a lot of fun. But it's also fun when you see certain types of clouds to say, oh, I think we're having a storm. Now, sometimes when I was younger, I always called those popcorn clouds the cumulus clouds. But when those cumulus clouds get dark and larger, they're no longer just fun popcorn clouds. They're a warning, right? And can we, as weather forecasters, use that to help us predict weather? When you see them get very large and dark, you know we're going to get some form of precipitation. But when you see those nice little high clouds, the bird's wings, like Logan said, you don't really have a lot to worry about. But then when you see that they're starting to form, remember, that's all water there. Really, all a cloud is dust and water particles, and some of them are ice crystals, depending on where they are in the atmosphere. But once you get so heavy, that cloud's going to fall down. It can't hold on to it anymore. It becomes some form of precipitation. Just part of the water cycle, right? Okay, so let's move on. I know I've got a lot, Mrs. Harrison. I'm trying. You're good? Okay. All right. So I'm not going to have you write this because of time, but I want to just see a show of hands, not voices, hands, because this is what I was going to have you do. In your science spiral, would you like to be a meteorologist someday? Why or why not? So yes, raise your hand if you think you could see yourself being a meteorologist. No, raise your hand if you do not. Wow, way more people know. How about at home? Anybody at home see themselves being a meteorologist? So I know they're always looking for meteorologists. I know for a while they needed female meteorologists, but now I see a lot more women doing that, in being a part of that field. If you are interested in meteorology, you want to be a lover of math because you'll be reading a lot of graphs. So if you did want to be a meteorologist, raise your hand again and tell me why you might want to. Sunny, why might you want to be a meteorologist someday? Because she loves math and she finds it interesting. She'd like to know what the weather's going to be in the future. Finn? Abby, would you be interested?
I would be interested because I can see on those computers that when it's blue, yellow, and red means I think it's gonna be super hot, and blue is cold, and then yellow is normal. And I want to see that to see how it goes.
So Abby finds it interesting, the different colors on the weather maps, and she already feels like she has an understanding about it. Cole?
I would do it because math is my favorite subject, and I can do it.
It's easy for you? So Cole thinks maybe he would do it because math comes pretty easy for him. Okay. What about someone who doesn't think they could do it? Nixon, why not? Okay, he's afraid to get sucked up by a tornado, but I don't think you have to be a tornado chaser to be a meteorologist. So that's a whole different kind of thing. Madison, birthday girl. But you're good at it.
And I don't want to tell the wrong thing.
I love it. Madison says she wouldn't want to be a meteorologist because she wouldn't want to tell the wrong thing, and math is not her favorite subject. Okay, nice. Thank you for sharing. I wish I had time for everybody to share. So guess what? You don't have to read this, but you do have to listen. So every year, this is our next little project for this week. Mrs. Harrison and I are going to help you with it. Every year, Nellie Johnson's family has a family reunion. They have a picnic in a local park, and all of her aunts, uncles, cousins, nieces, brothers, and sisters come from across the country to attend the picnic. The picnic is a big event, and every year Nellie looks forward to seeing everyone. However, there are two problems that always make Nellie nervous. This is like what Madison said. First, the weather where she lives is very unpredictable. One year, the entire picnic was ruined by a freak snowstorm in April. Sounds like Colorado. Second, her family comes from many different parts of the country, and they never seem to wear the right clothes for the picnic. This year, Nellie has assembled a team of students to study the weather carefully in order to learn how to forecast the weather. If she can accurately predict what the weather will be like, she can tell all of her aunts, uncles, cousins, nieces, brothers, and sisters what to wear to the picnic so that they will be dressed correctly. Nellie has picked you to join her team. Your job is to design a set of instruments. Don't worry, we already have those to study the weather, right? We're going to use all our crazy instruments. Make careful observations and become an expert weather forecaster. Then you can tell the guests how they should dress for the picnic. Will the weather be warm and sunny or cold and rainy? Should the guests bring umbrellas and raincoats or shorts and suntan lotion? Can you help nervous Nellie? Okay, so that is what we are going to do. But we are going to predict the weather. We are going to track the weather for 5 days. And this is what it will look like. Everybody should have gotten one of these in their packet. That if you're a remote learner, do you mind? Yep, you guys are gonna do it, but my remote learners should have gotten this. I put it outside for you to pick up. And Mrs. Harrison will bring it around for the rest of us. So we're gonna write our names at the top. Now, Leo, I don't think you or mom had a chance to pick yours up, so don't worry. You can write in your science spiral. If that applies to anyone else, Jensen, you can write in your science spiral. All right, so guys, I don't want to take much of your recess time, so if your voice is off, we'll get done quicker. On your mark, get set, write your name and date on your paper, if you have it. If you have it. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We are going to fill this in. Day 1 is today. We are going to get the air temperature, the wind speed, the cloud type, rainfall, current weather, and then we'll predict the forecast for tomorrow. So I'm going to do this for you a little bit today because of time. But I actually, let's see. Cole, you said you're good in math. On our window, we have a thermometer. Can you go see what the temperature is?
I'm a little worried that it's not accurate.
Okay. Mrs. Harrison says it doesn't look accurate, so I'm going to pull up my weather app here. And I can, the nice thing is we also have digital tools to help us. That maybe it's measuring the inside.
Yeah, I think that might be.
Okay, so that one is not right. So right now we're going to go ahead. It should be about 27. Oh, that's weird. So my thermometer that I bought for this project is just not
I think the sun was hitting the.
quite accurate.
I think the sun was hitting
Ah.
the door was reflecting some heat.
We think it's because of the location on my window. So it is actually 27 degrees Fahrenheit. So go ahead and fill that in.
I was keeping an eye on that.
Now the wind speed. So
27.
well, if we can get it to turn on. Okay, you should be able to go out and let it do its thing. It should be ready.
Okay, well, am I looking at?
The 8.2. The other one is the, oh, it's already working. Mrs. Harrison is taking the anemometer outside to get the wind speed. And I'm gonna let you guys, not right now, my remote learners, but we're gonna figure out our cloud type. All of us will go check that in a minute. Is there any precipitation right now? We should have put our cups out. So we're gonna use a measuring cup. Okay, Lyric got about 8.2 miles per hour on the anemometer. Let me just check. We could, guys, look here too. Watch what you can do. I should be able to look it up.
I got it spent pretty well, but it didn't change.
Wind speed in conifer.
I got it changed, but it did.
Oh, it did change. What was?
Well, no, I mean,
Oh.
it's fun, but the number didn't change.
All right, so let's look at wind. So today, 5 miles per hour. Okay, so see where I went here to wind? 5 miles per hour. So we're gonna write, and I'll see if I can get that to work. 5 mph, 5 miles per hour. We got about 1 centimeter of snow. Would you say about that much? This because we have puddles out there from when it was actually snowing on you guys. The current weather. Can you guys look outside? Leo, what would you describe the current weather as? Can you unmute and share?
I think the current weather is about sunny and about maybe 20 degrees.
Okay, so we got our temperature. Would you call it, are there any clouds in the sky?
Yes.
Okay, so you said sunny. We have maybe, if you want, you can either go cloudy or you could say partly cloudy if you think there's a lot of sun. We've had kind of a difference. Now on this, it doesn't say anything about the air pressure, but our air pressure is a little bit low. So you might want to add that somewhere. So air, we could put AP is a little bit low. It's pointing down a little, not super far, but it is down compared to straight. So what is your forecast? And think about the cloud types. We're going to have to put the cloud types. And right now, I see a lot of clouds. Do you think it's cumulus? So if we go back to our little label here and we're looking down, we see some cumulus, and then you guys saw some stratus. When we go out for recess, we're gonna look. I want you guys to take a break and get outside and look at your cloud types. We're gonna go ahead and write cumulus. It's on your sheet, but you would spell it C-U-M-U-L-U-S. There's 1, 2, 3 U's in it. And if you guys see some stratus, you can add that when you come back. What do you guys think the weather's going to be like tomorrow, knowing that it's 27 degrees? We don't have very big winds, but we do have some cumulus. We've had some rainfall. We have a little bit of low air pressure. It's cloudy. So I want you to decide, what do you think it's going to be like tomorrow? Do you think it's going to be sunny? You could write sunny, or you could write snowy. You could put rainy. You could write clear, cool. That's up to you. I want you to make the forecast based on what you know about today and the air pressure and the winds. What is your prediction? That's up to you. And as we're outside playing today, or when you take your break, if you look outside and you see some of these clouds, maybe you can't really identify them, but then you go back inside and you look at, maybe you want to bring this out, or maybe you just come back in and say, yes, I saw that type of cloud. You can add it. Okay. So some people already added stratus because they thought they saw that through the windows. We just haven't gone outside and really looked yet. All right. So we are going to do this for 5 days, and it's important that you record it because we're going to be doing some graphing, and we're going to be writing back to Nervous Nellie and telling her about the weather. Okay, so let's go back here. I think that is the end of our lesson. We're going to be tracking the weather, so I hope you enjoyed that. Show me a fist of 5 how you're feeling about weather forecasting. It's kind of fun, isn't it? We'll try to get our tools working a little better. Mrs. Harrison's class, will you keep these in your work in progress folders? And we'll keep up with it this week. All right, guys, have a great day. I'll see you at 2:15. A great break.